Prepare for launch in 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to the Citizen Situation, the Star Citizen podcast in which we, your hosts, address Cloud Imperium games and the Star Citizen community openly and critically. To do this, each episode we debate a topic around Star Citizen. In doing this, we will address the issues, state our minds, debate them, and finally close off with our thoughts for possible solutions. As always, it is our aim to see Star Citizen succeed, and a key part of making that happen is in our belief to offer clear and constructive criticism. So now, without further ado, I will allow the hosts to introduce themselves, starting with Asuna.
Hi, I'm Asuna. I'm a backer since 2014. I'm also a concierge member and volunteer, and I'm also a Star Citizen streamer. And now up to Traz.
Hey, Asuna. Thanks. So I've dabbled a little bit in streaming, not a whole lot. Did a podcast for about a year or so supporting Star Citizen, founder of the Ready Player One Facebook group. I get involved in a lot of different Star Citizen pies, although I definitely feel like times have kind of shifted and changed, so I'm definitely glad to be here to be a voice of, I suppose, critical attempts at being non-biased, but of course I guess we all have our bias. So anyway, thanks for having me on. Traz Ion, nice to meet you. And Carde, our illustrious host. Tell us about you, good sir.
Thank you, Traz. I am Carde. I'm a backer in mid-concierge levels. I joined during the Kickstarter days, so I've been around a while. I've been a volunteer at CRG events for 3 years, so Gamescom, CitizenCon.
Nice.
Very much fun, really enjoyable. I've been enjoying games since, well, forever I could be playing them, but, you know, I'm a very clear a PC gamer, not a console one. Consoles just don't agree with me. Personal opinions there. I'm also a epic science fiction lover and a writer. I've been writing for 15 years, mostly in pen and paper RPGs scenarios. So stories and that kind of things are really important to me. So, with that said, let's us introduce, and normally we would go straight into our main topic, of course, for the day. However, we have had a little bit of a media storm and critical storm on the forum, Spectrum, and Reddit regarding the CitizenCon streaming situation. So we thought we would address this briefly before we jump into our main subject. Hello, this is Carde, and I'm talking to you from the future. This episode was recorded before the latest update from Chris Roberts, in which he addresses the fact that he has slept over it and that he would chalk it up to experience, and that the live streams would in fact be open to everybody with a Star Citizen account, and that it would be cutting back on the crew and costs of the live streams themselves. So this is of course a bit of a 180 compared to what it was before. I think it's a very welcome change. However, I do think that our debate on the subject has several points in there which are still very much valid, and as a result we decided to keep it within this episode. So I will just let you continue on enjoying the show, and thank you for listening. So, Traz, why don't you start us off on this one?
Sure. Okay. So for since June, I haven't been actually watching any of the ATVs, RTVs, any of that stuff. I canceled all my newsletters and everything else. I'm just kind of done with CIG's marketing machine. I still support the game. I still have an immense amount of support for the developers in the game and everything else. But generally now I get my news through secondary channels because I still stay a part of the community. I'm still a part of the Ready Player One Facebook group. I'm still a part of Reddit. I did do Spectrum, but there's been some issues there, so I no longer give that my time either. That kind of sucks. Not really for me, but the thing is, so in the admin channel for one of my groups, I was told, hey, Star Citizen just decided that they're going to paywall the stream, or CIG decided, and I was like, what? I mean, incredulous, because at this point, I've already put enough of a buffer and distance between myself that at this point, my only concern is talking about, I guess, more solution-minded things. I've got no more time for, theory craft and all the stuff that kind of comes with swimming in the normal communities. So I was a little surprised that, while I've put in that distance so that way I wouldn't be salty about anything else, I was like, really? It's like CIG has this magical method to reach out and just, pee in my Cheerios, no matter where I am, no matter how far away I am. I'm like, guys, come on, you're killing me. I didn't think you could piss me off anymore. Like, I didn't think that was possible. But so my initial response was definitely negative. I got a link to the tickets, and I went to the tickets, and I read over them, and I'm like, wow, okay. Not happy about it. Because there definitely wasn't enough information in that first pass on the tickets, as well as in the first pass, the entire stream was paywalled. Unless, of course, you're concierge or subscriber. And, so I'm not personally affected, but that doesn't really matter because I don't really believe that we should define values based on what should only affect us. We need to look at what's best for the community as a whole. So no, I was not okay with it. Now,
none of us who are affected at all by
Yeah,
this.
I can watch it no matter what because I'm concierge. But
most backers who are following the game closely probably aren't affected. Most everybody is a concierge by this point, except unless you just came to the project late, in a later stage. So that was last night late. So I went to bed. Whatever. I told the girl, and then we crashed out and we went to sleep. And the next morning, I see that Chris Roberts responded. So obviously, the community, not just me, not just salty old me with my, dill pickle. Obviously, the community was enraged, and or whatever term you want to put it, a subjective description. They were concerned, and so enough so that Chris Roberts saw fit to author a note in which he says, "I don't normally do this, so I'm breaking my own rule. I don't know why it's a rule that you don't communicate with your community anymore, but whatever." He posts a long explanation, and so my impression from that explanation was one of, and I tried to remove any of my own personal issues and tried to look at it with an open mind, and I actually found that it was largely encouraging. It largely clarified the intentions. Now, that's great. I'm glad to say that, okay, so he did go back on the stream being locked only to like completely paywall. Now the keynotes and the ending are both unlocked to everybody. Bravo. I'm not sure what you were thinking by locking those to begin with, but I'm glad that you're doing damage control and fixing that. I mean, better late than never. Okay. I guess, so at the end of the day, my concerns were largely put to ease because now there was an explanation as to why they had tried to do these things that they weren't planning on doing, and it was going to cost a lot of money. They needed extra teams, et cetera, et cetera. That's all fine and dandy. The part that my walk-away impression from that was just that, wow, you're the CEO of this company that has $200 million or closing on it and have had 6 years in this role, plus your lifelong experience in that role. I've worked with, that's not, where was your head at when this started? Like, are you so completely disconnected from the community and from your constituents, your backers, your publishers, that you didn't see this coming? Like, what bothers me is how negative the press has just taken this and run, and it's funny because it's well-deserved. It was like walking into the bear trap. Like, perhaps rather than acting so unilaterally in the future, it would have been better had he taken either the advice of the people in his company that he was debating with over this, or had he had the respect for the backers that he says he's going to respect like a publisher, and given them maybe the information ahead of time or some kind of saying it. So I guess to wrap it up, I don't think the whole ordeal is necessarily a negative. I think that they're probably trying to do the right thing, but again, it reduced. I walked away today with less faith in Chris Roberts as in the role of a chief executive officer than I did yesterday, because his handling of that situation, his lack of understanding of the subtleties of the people that he's supposed to be serve it spoke of inexperience in the position, or maybe poor judgment, and that's just frustrating because, I mean, so I don't know. I guess I don't really care.
Okay.
But it was frightening.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you have to either be a subscriber or concierge, or you have to buy it, and then you get a month of subscription as well, the big one,
Right.
and you get all the goodies.
That's cool.
So that's the only way, and now they opened the first keynote, that's 2 hours, and then the end keynote, that's an hour. I do feel like they should have told us in the beginning. Like, a lot of drama wouldn't have happened if we knew before it happened, and it's like, I didn't know if concierge members could get access to it or not. It was kind of blurry for me. So how do people know? I don't know how to say it, but it wasn't clear for people what the rules were and what was shown and what wasn't shown. So there's confusion, and then people are gonna theory craft, and that's gonna create more drama.
Sure.
So, like, I understand his reasoning. I do feel like maybe it was also because of the ticket sale that didn't go as well. Well, if you're hosting a show on a Wednesday, between two big festivals in the city that are gonna make all the hotels super expensive, then you're not gonna get as many people.
Yeah.
And the place will be more expensive, and the people will be more expensive. So the third-party team they hired is probably more expensive as well because of it.
They're probably booked. Yeah. Maybe. I mean, and right.
It could be, but
all this stuff behind.
We don't know details.
We don't know. That's theory crafting on my side. Like,
well, I think.
But it's logical.
It's fair to say that they did not really plan this one, and I think they kind of overestimated the amount of people that would show up for this in the US. Because, of course, the US backer field is enormous, but let's not forget, America is a rather big place. So it's going to be relatively expensive for people to get there. Because if you compare like America to Western Europe, which of course also has a very large backer base, travel within Western Europe is shorter and a lot cheaper than it is within America, especially on public transport. Like the competition here between high-speed trains and airlines that literally fly you for like 20 euros to anywhere within Europe. Yeah, it makes it a lot easier for people to move back and forward and around.
Europe is denser than America.
And I think they probably underestimated that one. But again, of course, just us guessing in that area.
Yeah, the last event was 800 people. The last CitizenCon, and now they're going for 2,400 people. That's a lot of people.
I mean, the CitizenCon and the new like enlarged and the VIP tiers. I bought a basic ticket just because I will not support that artificial stratification. Like there was no reason to. Like you could fit every single. Like. Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's event handling. That's
hopefully it's good.
The details and that, but that's what I have to sort out.
Yeah.
For me personally, like I said, one of the main issues is just like clearly in advance they did not think about what they should have been doing. Like they should have communicated clearly, and they should have made the keynotes opening and closing open to everybody. Because I think even if you look at Blizzard with BlizzCon, they do that. But I'm not sure. I've never followed BlizzCon.
Yeah,
but I
know
they do so.
Yeah. Blizzard's a company that has dozens of games,
full games and a full company,
decades of backers.
Yeah, but I meant more like in the way that you handle the things. So they say like the opening stuff, we give them everybody, but all the other stuff, like they sell their digital tickets, and like I get that system, and in essence, I got nothing against it if that's what if you tell me in advance, like okay, guys, we're going to stream, the opening, keynote, and the closing notes to everybody. But we also decided that we wanted to stream additional content, but that's going to cost us more money, so we're trying to cover that with digital ticket sales. That would have been very understandable, but there is one other issue. There's one more issue that I have with what they're doing right now, because yes, that would have been welcome, but there's something else that Chris Roberts said in that message of his. He said that the cost of these ticket sales is not going to cover the cost of these services of streaming everything and recording everything. So that means they're going to use funds from other areas. One of the other original promises was that they would use the funds for the game development, not for this kind of stuff.
For sure. They can use it from the subscriber money.
People are going on that one as well.
So like just over 100,000 maybe. Like holy cow!
And I know they have. Yeah, they have different money flows. That's what they made it very clear with the whole lawsuit situation. It was like, we got different money flows outside of just the income from the backers. You know, we have some investments and stuff like that ongoing, which can be used for these kind of things. So again, communicate that for us as well. Just even if you don't like, we don't know the in-depth details of all the finances, but
Sure.
just put it down like that. Just say like, we also have some, you know, in order to cover these costs, we will be using some of our, you know, additional income sources that are not originating from our backers community base, because we believe that providing this service is important regardless. If they had done that in advance, laid it all out clearly to everybody, instead of having a press that was running away with all the negative stuff because, yay, we're going to get a shit ton of clicks, a few websites would have picked it up on the positive note, and at least you would have got positive press out of this. That's my takeaway from it all.
I don't understand how he couldn't have seen that coming. Like, that was just talk to your backers, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, even the original ticket sales, like, it bothers me that the VIP tickets were sold and you didn't even know what you're getting. You don't. I mean, now that we're all the way at the window, they're like, oh, VIP is going to get custom access to this lounge area that no one else can have access, only if you bought the VIP tickets. I'm like, well, you know, if you told us that, maybe I would have bought a VIP ticket, but you didn't, you know, and I don't appreciate being
VIP tickets are sold out,
trained to spend money before I know information. So, absolutely
yeah,
not.
but that seems to be a trend for them on more things than ticket sales.
Asuna.
Anyhow,
So,
let's close this one down.
Now, I feel
you can go.
Okay, I feel if they told this before, like a lot of comments on Spectrum and Reddit were about at least open the beginning and the end, and that's what I did in the end. But if they told us before they made the change, we could have told them this idea, and they would have done it maybe right away, and they would have created like less negative press. It would have created less of an outrage because people who know how Chris Roberts responded are less outraged now. And if that started in the beginning, it would have been so much better.
He's still a little defensive in his writing when he writes back to the community. I don't really think that's necessarily the right way to touch it. Like,
maybe not.
I get it. We all have our egos, I guess. And, you know, if you're at the top, you don't want to hear it. But, man, the crowd, we are your bread and butter, but we're not. I don't know, man. Anyways.
Anyhow, I hope.
Glad they made some
another
changes.
wake-up call, and I'm glad they made some changes, and I hope they take these lessons forwards.
Because
so with that,
never seen such an outrage, like a universal outrage.
We've had a few, but let's move on.
Okay.
Because otherwise we're going to run this show forever and ever, because we will be doing that if we don't keep ourselves to some sort of a time schedule.
What's your time, Doc?
17 minutes.
I have not timed this first bit, because I want to time our main bit. So, you're all safe.
It's all going to be over an hour.
With it all said, let's move on to our main topic then for this show. And we are going from a very heated debate topic to one that's probably even more heatedly debated.
Out of the pan.
They already know what is going to come here. We are going to be talking about is Star Citizen pay to win? So yes, we're going in the deep end once more. This is a topic that knows many turns and directions, for it's not always a straight cut as it seems. Just look at your current Cup of Murder races and the track layouts. They never really seem to follow them. And the question is, does the debate, is Star Citizen pay to win, follow anything? Or is it not? We shall see it now. And Asuna, you can sum this up.
I'm gonna say it. Star Citizen is not pay to win, but there's an aspect of Star Citizen that's gonna get close to pay to win, and that's the UEC problem. We can buy unlimited UEC now. It has a maximum a day, but you can get like a lot of UEC to start with, but you don't know what it's worth. But it's still a lot of money that you're gonna start with. I feel that's a problem, but in terms of ships, no.
Okay.
And I'll elaborate more on that later on.
Sure, Traz.
Sure. I definitely do not like the UEC being uncapped at this stage of development. I think that it's, especially with the lack of information that's been communicated, it creates a lot of fear and uncertainty. And as much as when I voice my complaints about this, I get the you're creating FUD. No. You mistake me, good sir. CIG created the FUD by not clarifying the information. So, yeah, I'm a little worried about that. I think it could go either way. Either the UEC could turn into pay to win, or the UEC could be one of those things where people dump a bunch of money into it, hoping to get something out of it, and then they don't, and it's devalued, and then they feel like they've been, bamboozled. Yeah, conned, and that's not okay either. Then
we're gonna get the scam.
Right, and like you, Asuna, I think that the arguments about ships being pay to win, there's a lot of good details that are subtle to it that break that argument down. The only thing that I would say goes beyond that is where people try to say that, well, you're going to be able to take your ships and sell them back to the game to make UEC, so it's okay, it doesn't matter, and you're going to get more money on your return. Maybe not. That's just theory craft. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of reasons and evidences that would show that any game company is going to stop you from just being able to sell your ships back and making 100% value or 90% value. But we'll get into the details later. Yeah. I definitely think that with the moves recently, even with this new live stream thing, even though I kind of don't think it's an issue, Star Citizen just looks more and more like Pay Citizen. It's frustrating because that's what people see, even if it's is or isn't true. We don't even know.
Yeah, for me, it's one of the topics I addressed personally quite a while ago, because when people also asking it, so I actually did a run how much time does it take to earn a ship rental? That was the first time I really started to look in the whole is it pay to win kind of stuff, Because for me, before you say something pay to win, you need to define what is pay to win, because what is pay to win differs extremely between people. In my book, something is pay to win if you can pay for an advantage in the game which a normal player cannot earn within a reasonable amount of time.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
And what's reasonable? That's different for a lot of people.
Yeah, but that's different for everything. Reasonable for a very small advantage would be a very small amount of time played. For a very big advantage, you would expect it would take a lot more time in playing. And that for me comes out of the whole idea behind, having the time to play or having the money. Not everybody has the time. So some people don't have the time, but they have the money. Some people don't have the money, but they have the time. If you can balance those two out, then there's nothing wrong with it.
Balancing is hard.
It's very hard, and it's never going to be perfect. I fully understand that. But I think it can be made to work. On the notion all ships pay to win, in my book, yes and not. Because in the end, Star Citizen is a skill-based game. And you can experience it right now. If you're a terrible pilot, yeah, but if you're a terrible pilot right now, if you go into the universe and you get yourself a Super Hornet or a Sailor, I am a terrible pilot. If there's somebody that's a really good pilot and they're flying a Mustang or an Aurora, they're kicking my butt. Because they're gonna outmaneuver me because I don't have the skill to match up with them. So there's always a skill argument. Of course, if you're gonna say that two people with equal skill, then yeah, okay, somebody buys the ship and you don't have one, they're going to have an advantage at that moment in time. The question is then, is that scenario going to happen? We don't know that again. In Star Citizen, it's a game where they say there's a lot more NPCs versus players, so your encounters, you're likely going to pick encounters that match what you can do with your ship. So is there going to be an advantage to having certain bigger ships? Unquestionable. There's going to be an advantage. Does that make it pay to win? I think right now not, because right now we're talking about buying ships to fund the game. It's a pledge and you get the ship in return. I think when you can say we're talking about pay to win is if we're selling those ships when the game has launched. I think then you have a different debate. And the irony is with your UEC debacle, it's actually reverse of that. Selling it before the game is ready, I consider to be chance to be indeed pay to win, but selling it after the game is done on a daily limited amount, to me, it's about the balance of time versus money.
Right.
Yeah, can I add something to that? If you buy UEC now, it will stay on your account forever. But working in the game to make money is gonna get resetted every patch, every 3 months.
Yep.
So you can't work towards it.
Nope.
Not like your normal UEC. So your time played will be wiped away in 3 months' time, while getting your UEC will help you forever.
Very much true.
Well, when the game launches, then the UEC you spend out of what you saved up will go away. But then the money that you earn won't be wiped. So just to clarify for any listeners who don't know, we're talking about 3-month wipes being during the development of the game. Once we hit gold launch, then that goes away and that doesn't matter. So, but right.
Yeah, that's very much. The guys like you keep getting it wiped right now. Yeah. But then, of course, like as you said, you are in a development phase. And there is an importance as well in regarding to testing things that certain people start at the bottom. And if you have certain people starting up higher, it actually can provide meaningful data for developers.
Sure, I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, from that standpoint, it's just that we're paying to help them get a spread of data, really?
So, yeah, for now, buying UEC sort of pay to win, maybe close to it. But after game launches, then it's not really, because people can work towards getting money in game as well. Time versus money.
Right. I would say that's a really good point, Asuna, about the difference between before and after. Another side thing that I would tag onto that is, like right now we have a daily limit. So they removed the overall cap. So you can technically buy as much UEC, but you're limited to how much you can buy per day, which technically means that somebody who started buying it as soon as they unlocked that cap and bought every single day, if you started buying, say you come into the game now and you've got a bunch of money and you want to do that too, you're never, ever going to catch up to them with starting money because you're both limited by the daily cap. So in some senses, if they were going to remove the one cap, they should have just removed both. I mean, I don't approve of that.
It would make it even crazier.
I know, right?
But okay, it's like we don't know if this is possible. Let's say I want to do that. Say I want to catch up to that person. What's stopping me from making 4 accounts?
Well, that's true. But
when the game launches, I just transfer all of that to one account and ditch the other 3 accounts.
Do you know if you can do that in the game?
Yes,
we don't know if that's possible in the game.
I mean, if there's going to be a financial transaction system in the game where I can buy and sell stuff, then it's going to be possible to transfer funds.
Right, but we don't know if there's going to be a tax,
there may be a tax on it, of course. But even then, the tax is not going to be 24% on a transfer of cash between players.
There's some games that have a way to do trades in games. If I'm selling you an item for a certain amount of money, they made it so that you can only sell it between 2 certain ranges, like in a certain range.
Yeah, that I would be fundamentally against. But
it does keep inflation away from the game.
There are definitely designers who have talked exactly about your concerns, Carde. That if because CIG is unlocking their money and selling it now, all that like how they talked about this being an open economy at the end of the game, where the 1 to 9 ratio of players to NPCs is supposed to help them balance it. The reality is the way it's going now is it looks more like it's going to have to be a super controlled economy for them to ever be able to have any kind of handle on it. And like that's not my wheelhouse to get in detail on, so I'll leave that as it is. As just
I think the system. The economic systems in MMOs is something that so far no company really figured out. Because the main problem behind the economic system in MMOs is the very basic fact that there is more money coming into the economy than leaving the economy.
Right.
And that's why you have this massive inflation.
We have massive inflation in real life.
Yeah, but in real life,
economy, but that has issues as well.
In real life, inflation is a couple of % over the years. In general, in most countries with a reasonably working economy, the inflation should be the aimed inflation. Actually, what they say is healthy for an economy is around 2% per year on a yearly basis. So 2% devaluations of your money. But in MMOs, that number is far, far higher. And it's like if you look at, say, World of Warcraft, the inflation, you can just see the spikes with each expansion launch. because with each new expansion, there is more money coming into the game because each quest relatively earns you more money, the mobs drop more money, etc., etc. So the amount of money in the game is just climbing and climbing and climbing. But the amount of money that's going out of the game, while it's also climbing, it's never climbing at the same rate. So there's always far more money coming in than going out. The same problem you have in EVE Online, which is a fully player-driven economy. But the game still generates the funds for those players to get. Like, if it is in mining, if it is in drops, if it is from mission rewards, that money has to come from somewhere. It is generated through the in-game economy. And again, the inflation in there is absolutely massive. So can we reasonably expect them to have any real control over this system at all?
The only way to stop inflation in the game is if every company in the game exists and has money, and every NPC has their own money and spends it and earns it, like in real life. And that's how you stop it. Because a company only has this amount of money, and this NPC only has this amount of money to spend, and they only make a certain amount of money.
And they only make a certain amount of resources, which we already see right now.
Yeah, so there is a limit in money, but that's not how a game works. It's too complex.
Well, there are disadvantages to doing a closed economy, which is, I believe, what the term for what you're talking about. Where basically, if you said Star Citizen only has 100 million resources in asteroids, and then the miners go and mine it, and then that gets harvested, and then that gets sold for UEC, and the UEC gets spent to build ships, and then the ships are destroyed. And then, so basically it's money in, money out. But there's problems with that because, you have a change in influx and player base, new players join, new players, and so, it's hard to manage that. I'd always assumed they'd use some kind of hybrid system, but at this point, it feels like we're so far down in technical debt. That could be true, that could not be true.
Yeah.
Not going to say whether we are or not, but
I guess
it's hard to know.
It's very technical, but that's one of the points. When you're debating pay to win, like it or not, you need to consider a lot of the technical stuff behind how economies can work, how game balancing can work, in order to properly, consider the topic itself. And that's why it's such a difficult topic, I think, to debate. And what you can maybe agree on in global certain stuff like we do, but if maybe you go into real the nitty and gritty, like, do we say we want to expect to win? Because there's something like I want to also bring up, like insurance. If I buy a ship right now, and whether it's 6 months or lifetime insurance, just for argument's sake, say I've got a ship with 12 months insurance that I'm buying, it comes with a certain equipment loadout on that ship. That equipment loadout is included in the insurance of the ship that I bought through my pledge. My assumption is, in the game, if I'm buying a ship, I'm buying a ship without pretty much anything on it. Or maybe they'll also have equipment on it. Don't really know that yet. But it doesn't seem likely to me that they're going to sell ships including with equipment all the time, because once players get into the game and they have their funds, they're going to look at the ships and the equipment that's on there, and they're like, I don't want that equipment because it's rubbish. I'm going to put on stuff that's much better. So I want to buy the ship whole and put my own equipment on it.
Yeah, but it's the same as a car. Like, you buy a car with seats in it and then you change out the seats. But if your car gets broken, you're not going to get the same car with the same seats that you put in it. You're going to get the car with the seats that came with it when you bought the car.
Yep. So are we talking, is it then also pay to win? Because I'm getting an advantage in that aspect that my loss is going to be less than somebody that bought a ship and insured the ship and then bought separate equipment. Because we can already see right now, if I'm buying equipment in the game and my ship gets blown up, that equipment is gone.
Yeah, but you buy equipment. You can insure equipment in the end, but you buy the equipment to have an advantage in the game.
Yeah, I at the end of the day, like, I've always disliked the fact that we were buying ships for the game, but I understood that it was a necessary evil for development. So I figured, well, at the end of the day, the game is skill-based. Once you get past single-seater ships, then the whole game changes, because, yeah, you might have an expensive multi-crew ship, but that takes multi-crew to play.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is, though, is truth to be said, though, if you're talking about earning potential, they're going to have to decide where it is. They can't say that 24 people flying around in an Idris making that work are only going to equally be able to make the same amount of money doing an Idris mission as somebody in a single-seater fighter doing a Hornet mission.
Oh, because the risk, you take far greater risk doing the mission with an Idris.
Which means that at least from the money portion of the game, the higher earning potential is going to go to those who have spent the money. So yes, buying big ships early is paying to win in that narrow focus of money.
Yeah.
Now, the other tidbit that I would plug in there is that when people say, well, that's not the only thing the game's about. It's about exploring. It's about this. It's about that. Those are all true. But at the end of the day, money is the cornerstone of the game. You have to have money to refuel your ship. You got to arm it. You got to buy the ship. You got to pay crew.
Exploring, they say it's about selling the information that you gather through exploring.
All you have in the game are your ships, your equipment, your money, and your reputation. And your money gets you ships and equipment.
Yeah. If you're looking at exploring, like, I can explore in Origin 315p, or I can explore in my Carrack.
Right.
Which one is going to do a better job?
Right.
Depends how many people.
And it's limited by the role that it's capable of fulfilling, whereas money is the end goal, because with money you can do anything. Matter of fact, if you're a terrible pilot and you've got enough money, you can just pay a good pilot to go whoop the other good pilot that's threatening you. You can buy alliances. You can shut down economies. Like, with enough money, you can do anything. So money being unlocked, like currency, in-game currency being unlocked for real-life money, I just completely disagree with. I think at this stage, I agree with you, Asuna, that like post-launch, maybe raise the limit that you can buy per month every month for the first 2 years, or have that change based on whatever method they use to try to keep their economy stable.
So,
but
now
we don't even know.
But having the ability to buy in-game money does keep away the gold sellers. Mostly. To a big degree. Like, if you can buy it the legitimate way.
Really farm money in this game the way you could in MMO, where you can write scripts. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I think this is
trust me, I'm currently playing World of Warcraft again. I've been playing EVE Online, and EVE Online has one of the longest track histories of selling in-game money. Right. Through their Plex system. And there are plenty of farmers in that game still that are selling it. But you're not going to stop that economy.
System, though,
but offering a legitimate system is going to be a really good way to combat it for a lot of reasons. Because for many people, they will prefer to go to a legitimate system because it means my account is not going to get banned.
Like, if I have to spend twice the amount just to get it the legitimate way, I would probably do it. Because I don't have to deal with shady people. If something goes wrong, I'll get the help.
Yeah.
And of course, the illegitimate way, you're going to get scammers as well. Not all of them, but you're going to get scammers.
But to go back to the ships. Because I've just been thinking about, like, to run an Idris, I'm not sure how many people they say now for a crew.
30 people around that.
Yeah, but that's also a lot of NPCs included. I mean, like, for players, you probably need a bunch of people on the bridge, maybe some engineers running around up, and some of your fighter pilots. So, say you got an Idris, and say you went expensive on the fighters, you got 3 sabers on board, and you would need like 20 people or something to run the whole damn thing. So that means I have invested about $1,800, say to $2,000 real money into my Idris and my fighters on board the Idris.
That sounds a lot.
It sounds a lot, but if you take those same 30 people and you say, like, well, we're going to put you all in a good fighter, but not as good as the saber, but we're going to take the Gladius, for example, I'm still looking at spending a lot more than I spent on that Idris plus those 3 sabers.
True. And the other problem is a big ship is a big target, and the more people you need in a ship, the better communication you need. So you need to be working together a lot better than, let's say, in a freelancer. Like, probably 10 freelancers with 2 people on each, is gonna run better. Is gonna communicate better than 20 people in the Idris.
I think that's could be very well, but I mean, it depends, of course, on your group of players. But I've been in both groups, like players that are just all over the place, and I've been in part of outfits where like it's like the blood really like run like the bloody military. It's perfectly organized. Everybody knows exactly what they need to be doing. But for me, it's more like it's so the initial investment actually in that Idris and those fighters may not be as much as it seems, because relatively speaking, if you look at the ship values, those larger ships come out quite cheaply.
And the other problem,
supposedly the bigger ships are the ones that are going to bump the most in in-game value, so it'll be
it has to be, because
scale.
I can't see my Idris being worth only 6 sabers in game.
Of course not. But
can you buy? Look,
no, of course not. I know, but they can't ask 20. They can't ask 20k for an Idris right now. But the other problem
they
is
probably could if I sold it initially for that.
Yeah, but you also need the players for a big ship.
Yeah.
And good luck. People want to fly on their own. People want to fly in their own ship.
I play EverQuest 1999, an emulator of a game that's 2 decades old, and regularly, every single day, I can get in a raid with people, 24 people. That's barely enough to do anything. We do raids with way more than that every day. So if Star Citizen can't overcome that, then I think there's a problem with CIG's ability to build a game where it encourages communities to play together. Like I don't want them to reinvent the wheel. There are plenty of games that can lay down a strong foundational example of how to encourage community play. And I'm not saying force it so that soloers can't do their solo thing, but I'm just saying there are ways to make it where it encourages people to work together.
Elder Scrolls Online is what I play, and in Elder Scrolls Online I can play solo for days and I can do all the stuff I want, or I can play with other people and have other options to do in the game.
Yeah, I think that's a very good topic for another episode, I think.
Yeah.
Game design around multiplayer environments and working together. So, because to bring it back towards our idea about of pay to win. So
yes,
it's really like,
can I?
Can you what?
Add a little part about pay to win for ships.
Yeah, sure.
A small ship is a smaller target. A small ship can go through smaller jump points, so their time to travel is less because they're faster. They probably have to stop a bit more than a big ship, but their distance is also a lot smaller. Like, if I'm a big pirate and I see an Aurora, I'm probably not going after it. If I see a big ship like a Hull C, then I'm probably going after it because I know
You're
it's
different than most pirates I have met in EVE Online, because like the small ships, they often tend to hide the biggest bounties because people hope that you don't target them.
It's also a big kick to fight a big ship.
It is like, that's a difference. They talk about mentality. Like certain people, they want those interesting, good fights, that are really challenging, and some people just want to hammer on people regardless, and like them, ideally their target is hopeless and chanceless. So that's really dependent on the people. But I think, but
to find a smaller ship is going to take a lot more work.
Well, that we don't know.
Well, okay, but like scanning, it's going to be harder to find a smaller ship because the signature is lower than a big ship.
Theoretically, hopefully.
Yeah, but if I'm flying my Idris to an asteroid field, you're still not going to find it very easily.
Well, and that's the thing too, is the value of ships is going to be dependent upon how these game mechanics actually work in the game. And right now we have a lot of words. CIG has been putting out words for years now about how things will or won't be. The problem is a lot of those words aren't written down, so we don't actually have very good design documents. We've got some very basic stuff, but at the end of the day, like, we're still missing they let us backers hash it out, claw, tooth, and nail, theory crafting about how, well, this is what I see it's going to be, and oh no, this is what I see it's going to be, and you get people, at odds. And we have no idea how this game is going to deliver. So, like, how useful is a Hornet tracker going to be? Like, there was a time where I was super excited about the Hornet tracker. And I was super excited about having the freelancer duration as one of my forward skips for its sensors. But there's been no cover down from CIG on how those things are going to really work. Like, it's been years, and I get that, agile development, again, kind of you go back to the agile scrum development, that, like, you build all the things and you put it all together at the end. That's fine and dandy, but you still have to have an overarching vision of what your destination goal is going to be, at least for some of those overarching systems. And we're just, I just feel like we're largely in the dark, more so than is really right.
Yeah, and that's why these kind of topics are so difficult to talk about and to come to any form of conclusions on, I think.
Right.
Asuna, you want to say something?
No.
Okay. Well, because, like, the theory crafting bit is what I do because I enjoy doing it.
I love it. Yeah.
We all love it.
We all love it.
Who doesn't love it?
If you look at, like, a very basic level of theory crafting is, let's take an Idris and let's take an Orion. One is a military ship, one is a industrial ship. They're both very large ships. One is designed to chew up asteroids. One is designed to patrol areas and blow stuff up if the need is there. If you look at, like, if you compare them in real life, a industrial ship is not going to be cheap. They're also not going to be cheap to operate. You're going to need quite a bit of crew. But if you compare that to a military ship, those military ships, they are a lot more expensive to buy. They're a lot more expensive to operate. And they're a lot more demanding on the type of crew that you need on board. Because the requirements of a military ship versus a civilian ship tend to be very, very different. I mean, the same can also be seen in aircraft. A military aircraft that has a life cycle of, say, 500 cycles between a large maintenance check is, like, perfectly acceptable, provided that it can land on any freaking runway that we put down on a field of grass. If you go to a civilian airline and say, like, I've got this amazing cargo plane, but it needs a massive overhaul of 500 cycles, they're like, yeah, go fuck off, because that's never going to be profitable for us. So if I'm going to buy an Idris, should I even assume that I can make money on it?
I know, right?
Because maybe
I don't think you can make money with it.
Maybe we can make money, but maybe we cannot make as much money as somebody that has the Orion that spent relatively, less money on that ship. Is it still pay to win to get the Idris over the Orion?
Not every ship is made to make money.
No. So
I want it to be the way that you're saying, Asuna. I agree with that theory and line of thought. I don't know if it's true, though.
We don't know, but not every ship.
You got Chris Roberts saying that we're going to have missions that you can take your Idris out on, and I'm like, wouldn't that be player made? Like, shouldn't Idrises be like forced projection where they burn money, but then so that they can protect an economic, wheat field to grow money, and it creates this player interactive cycle where, like, yeah, your Idris is badass, but it can't make any money, so it's
gotta cost money.
Yes,
so
that's why I liked the mercenary aspect of it. Wait, Asuna, you continue. Sorry.
Yeah, but even mercenaries need to look at their fleet. Like, probably the smaller ships are gonna make more money for the same amount of cost than a big ship.
I will go on that one after you're done.
No, go ahead.
Okay, because the organization that I'm in right now is actually, our whole goal is to be mercenaries for whoever is willing to pay. We're not going to care about legalities or anything. We're just going to say, like, okay, you want this done, we'll get it done. This is how much it's going to cost. And
mercenaries.
Yes, but the point for me is, like, I have made my videos about this as well, and I look at it very much like if I run the business, so I'm getting a contract to say, okay, this is your contract. We need you. Like, these guys are mining in this area. We want to mine that area. They have a pair or maybe 3 Orions there, and they've got some lighter escort ships around. That's what they have. We want you to blow them up. If I'm looking at that, I'm seeing, okay, so I've got a few escort ships, and I've got a bunch of very large, likely very immobile targets. So what I want is a good strike package with some escort to deal with those lighter threats. So I can say like, oh, I'm bringing in an Idris and a Javelin and stuff like that. I'm like, no, I'm gonna burn money like crazy because those things the fuel bills on those things alone going to be mad. All the crew costs and all of those things. Like, that's not worth taking those ships out. But I can take a bunch of fighters and a bunch of bombers out, but I could also just take out one hammerhead and get 3 retaliators, and probably that will do the trick.
Right.
Because their escorts, I've got like a shit ton of turrets on all of those ships, and I've got probably enough players to man those few ships. Like, the player investment would be quite heavy in a force like that, but my ship investment would be very low because I only use 4 ships. So I need a lot of players, but well, those you probably will have, and you just need 4 ships. So even if you lose a retaliator by accident, then okay, too bad, but it's not that much of a cost. And the running cost of those 4 ships to blow all of that up, well, that seems a fairly reasonable deal. But you're not going to take out an Idris, even if you have 2 of them ready, because it's going to cost you more than it's worth.
You need to pay all your people.
Yeah, you need to pay your people. Like, but the point is, like, you need to pay NPCs. The fun thing is you don't always need to pay your players. Because a lot of players, if you just tell them, like, they're flying with you, like, all they want is to blow shit up. There are plenty of players that just... No, I know.
I would like to earn money.
I know there are plenty of players. There are plenty of players
that everybody's going to want to work towards their own profit or their own motives. But I know what you mean, early on at least.
But there are a lot of players that's like, you get players that just will be playing Star Citizen, or you get players that will be playing Star Citizen on and off. Like, they'll just jump on if there's something going on. Because I know plenty of people that play other games like that. Like with PlanetSide, we also had it as well. Like, there were people that would only join up when we had the operations twice a week, and besides that, you would never see them.
Yeah.
Because they didn't care. They just want to have fun with this group of people doing what we do, and after that, I'm going to do something else. Those kind of players you're also going to need in your organization if you want to do stuff like this. Because those are the kind of players you're like, okay, guys, we got a contract to do this. I am needing a bunch of players because we need a lot of turrets manned. So we're going to have an operation then and then. And then those players will count up. And those players, I probably just need to pay them a very little amount or nothing at all. Because 9 out of 10 times they need something that we just say from the organization, yeah, here you go. And you handle it like that. So that's what I'm saying. There are so many layers upon layers upon layers upon layers when you're talking about pay to win. Because for those players, like, is it pay to win that they have an aura, but I have a hammerhead in which they can fly? Does that mean that I have paid to win for them? Or did it mean that I paid so they could have a fun game experience?
Right. I mean, I guess it comes down to all these unknowns that we don't know, like the earning potential and everything else. At the end of the day, I think that the more money that you do pay into the game to help development, yes, there should be advantages that you get back from that. However, I think that needs to be tempered by the fact that, yes, when the game launches, those advantages shouldn't be just mind-crushing or insurmountable by new players. One of the frustrating things is that, new players, like I think, Carde, you were making the example before where you were talking about the economics and how inflation and everything else, new expansions come out and constantly it just drives the inflation or the reduction of value of money in the game down. So that means as a new player coming in who wants to get into it, you're like, oh, well, that's great. Now the money I'm making won't even buy me basic gear compared to...
I got something to say to counter
Sure.
that.
Jump in.
Because I rejoined World of Warcraft during Legion with a totally fresh account.
Okay.
So I got a level boost, which means here you go, have your level, I think it was level 100 character, you get your gear and you get 500 gold.
Right.
And some professions. Good luck. Like, that's all I had. I looked, the first thing I did, I went to a major city, I went to the auction house, and I started looking at a few key things which I know always sell. One of those things were bags. People always need bags, because every time you make a new character, you want bags on that character. Because you want your full bags on your for you that you carry around, and you want to have 7 bags in your bank, so you have all the storage.
Yeah, Yummy.
Awesome.
Are you
So
gonna
people
share?
always need bags.
It's a little cactus.
Cheers. But people always needed bags. So I looked at, okay, how much are the bags selling for? And how much are the materials to sell to make a bag?
Right.
I did the math. I was like, well, the bags are selling roughly 4-6 times what the materials cost. When I'm just buying the materials, making the bag, and selling the bag. So I got myself tailoring. I spent the gold that I had on getting the skill level up to where I needed it to be. Did some questing, got that few gold belly, started making my first few bags. Within a month, I was sitting on hundreds of thousands of gold.
Nice. Well,
So,
I think every game deals with it in a different way.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's like, if the
So-
inflation game is really high, then yes, your rewards that you get from your questing and stuff like that, they may seem very low. But on the other hand, anything that has a value to other players, that value is going to go up and up and up. So if I'm getting a green weapon drop, which is useless for me, and the vendor may say, like, I'll give you 2 silver for it, but because the inflation is so mad and people need it for their professions, I can sell the green weapon on the auction house for 50 gold.
Sure. I mean, you see that with Star Citizen ships because, you know, X ship comes out now and it's the only ship that does X job. And so everybody's like, oh, I got to own it. And then they own it. And then some other ship comes out and they're like, oh my gosh, for $5 more, I can get this other ship that does like 10 million different things. Like, why would I ever keep that other ship? And the thing is that's all. We don't even know how those game mechanics work yet.
Yep.
And like some of those game mechanics, we don't even have
The details, yeah.
intention
Can I?
written down.
Asuna?
Yeah,
You go,
like I had a Vanguard. I didn't like, well, and I upgraded to the Constellation. And then the Apollo came out. And I was like, oh, the Apollo looks better. And it does stuff that I can't do right now. Let's buy the Apollo. Let's upgrade it. And then the new ship came out, the Mercury. And I had a Vulcan with stuff that I don't know how it's going to work. But it was only a little bit more expensive to go to the Mercury. So I went to the Mercury. And I'm adding up a little bit, and I still have no idea how the ships are going to work.
Okay. May I
It's so
introduce a final one to for this discussion, which is going to bring in both the Alpha UAC and the ships. Because as we said, yes, money in the game is the key to
The
everything.
driving force.
Yeah. One of the reasons why a lot of people were not really against the bigger ships was the idea behind it, like, okay, you have this really big ship, but when you start the game, you likely don't have the funds to run this really big ship.
That's right.
Like,
Yeah.
I can have a whole E,
that
but
starting
I can't
point.
put enough
Yes.
cargo on that to make it worth flying that thing right now because I don't have the credits to buy that cargo. But now I can jump into the game with maybe tens of millions of credits, depending on how I did it. I can just say, like, go to there and load this entire whole E up full of cargo and start making cargo runs with it and likely make a really good return on investment on whatever I'm spending on the cargo that I put in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a very clear advantage over somebody that's going to start with a Holy and no credits, or somebody that's going to start with an Aura and no credits, or somebody's going to start maybe with a Freelancer and a little bit of credits, because I spend a shit ton of money.
So the difference is if you have two people, both have an Aurora and one person has like a Constellation, and they both have to start in the Aurora to make money. And in the end, the one person who didn't have the Constellation would have to spend money on the Constellation. And that's the advantage the other person will get. But that's during time in the game. That's going to take a while. But when someone can start with the Constellation, then that difference is going to be bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
It's
Like
going
we
to be
want a
it's
diverse.
an exponential curve.
Yeah, we want a diverse universe. And before that USC changed, that difference would be slight, well, not big in the beginning, but get bigger and bigger in the end. But now that difference is going to be big or huge in the beginning.
It's a force multiplier.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think that's one of the main reasons why I think if you really wanted to answer a question, is it pay to win in a black and white kind of fashion, because of that combination right now, I would say yes, it is pay to win. Because the advantage that you can get to the combination of buying credits and capable ships. Like a cargo ship, is going to be capable regardless of what's going to be in the game. Because running cargo in a science fiction universe, if you fuck that up, then you probably haven't made a good game to start with on any front. So that's going to work out.
I feel it's not pay to win, but it's getting close to it that more people are going to get annoyed by it, by the recent changes. And in the eyes of some people, yes, it can look like it's pay to win.
Well, I think I kind of agree with you, Carde. I think the UEC has definitely changed that. Now, I also agree with you, Asuna, that like there's a lot we don't know, so it is kind of this weird 50 shades of space gray, where but the problem
50 shades of RGB.
The more like with that money being unlocked for purchase now, it just means that by the time the game actually does launch, in order for CIG to launch a game where the economy isn't already destroyed from day one, so that new players will actually want to participate, they're going to have to take drastic measures to devalue the UEC that's been purchased up, which means either they're going to have to betray the money of people who invested in that early on, or they're going to have to,
do magic.
Basically, it's like there's no right solution. Their only defense was to wait until more things were working and the system was working in game, and then have a plan, and then be like, how do we approach this? Instead, it feels like they went for the quick buck and opened up another revenue channel, hoping that the addicts would buy in and continue to do that because, hey, I'm competitive. Like, I want the game to start as even keel for everybody at the beginning. I understand that the more time you have to play, the more you're going to earn. I get that. But that's time in the game. That's not time, that's not my pocketbook buying me
into
status or position. Now it's like you can do that. But so it's like, it's one of those things where like, whereas before, I bought up to the limit because I understood that there was a limit and I knew that anybody who's really competitive was going to be able to go to that limit. But that limit prevented me from having too much advantage. You know what I mean? Even for all the ships I own for my org's fleet, that doesn't give me individually too much advantage.
That's one other thing, of course, because like having a whole fleet of ships for yourself is not going to give you a greater advantage. Your advantage is going to be as great as the ship that's going to provide you the greatest advantage in your fleet.
Right. And your skill and whatnot.
But for bigger ships, you also need the people.
Yeah.
It still gives more earning potential, because I will say this. When, like a couple of patches ago, for instance, when they first allowed us to take our UEC that we had on our account and it converted into Alpha UEC, the difference in my earning potential was ridiculous, because I already owned, with the 5,000 starting UEC, you could already fill a Caterpillar completely up with like the cheapest material, ship it to Levski, make profit, ship it back, and and I actually had I have it all calculated out. So in a 24 hours of gameplay, so if I played 8 hours a day, 3 days in a row, I would go from making just a few hundred per run to making hundreds of like 50,000+ per 9-minute run back and forth. Now they changed the whole economic system and how things are valued, so that doesn't work the same, because you can't just go back and forth and make money anymore. That's fine. But that doesn't change the fact that first patch, when they then changed my money from starting at 5,000 to starting at like 173,000, when I started with that, then I took that Caterpillar, and instead of filling it up with like the cheapest, I just started with medical supplies. And I just was, holy, like, the Caterpillar is like a mid-tier trader. What happens when you get to that
lower end of the mid-tier?
Let's say a banner merchantman is kind of outclassed in so many ways, although it's bigger and need more people.
I get that they've changed the economic model so that now you can't just buy one ship filled with all of one type of material. Now you gotta, like, there's all these other different things that mean that it's better to buy a variety of cargo and like kind of know the destinations and go in. And so so that reduces.
But then still, that large ship is going to give you a massive advantage, because I can have a very large supply of many different sorts of cargo in a good number. So whenever I do arrive at an outpost where I'm like, I can sell this for a good profit, I get more of it to sell for a really good profit.
is a part of the equation. It is a tolerable part of the equation because the ship is still just a tool. Yes, you are paying for advantage. So absolutely, Star Citizen, from pre-launch to post-launch, you are paying for advantage. That is always going to be the case. Unfortunately, there's evidence to it. But unlocking UEC, unlocking in-game currency, just like Asuna said earlier, it is a force multiplier, and it breaks the gate down. It is so pay to win, it's not even funny. Just because there's nothing you cannot do with currency.
It's just
except reputation, but reputation is easier to gain if you have a lot of money.
Everything
is easier with money, and I think that's really where it comes down to. It's a case of a force multiplier that we now can just get all that alpha UVC, because as I said previously, like a ship would give you an advantage, but only up to a certain level, because you need to be able to operate the damn ship.
So
right now you get all the currency to operate, the largest of ships. Like if you had a Hawk and you had the Javelin, in your organization, it would probably take you a substantial amount of time in game as an org to earn the money to outfit the Javelin. Right. Now people can just pool their money as an organization together, and on day one fly around in a fully kitted out Javelin. And when then you're going to show up with an Idris to a fight, they're going to drop a Javelin on your ass.
That's right. And for those people who say, oh, well, day one, you're going to fly a Capital, that's a bad idea, because then we're just going to take it away from you. Guess what? We've had years and years and years and years and years and years in alpha and beta to practice with all of our assets. So if you think that orgs aren't going to be rocking and rolling on day one of gold launch, come on.
Yeah, but they would also have the training. But for the other people that don't play Star Citizen yet or don't play it as much, smaller ships aren't as bad as some people say it is.
No, they're a lot of fun.
Oh no, they are very capable for what they need.
And I still worry about the amount of people that you need. Like, we have a lot more ships in the game than people. Like, you're never going to be able to fill them all, not even close.
But that's the question also, do you want to? Because, like, as I said, like, when you look at my fleet and what I'm going to use it for, a lot of those ships, they're not going to be used. Like, they're only going to be used whenever they are required to be used. Yeah, and otherwise, they're just going to be parked.
There are also enough people that just want to fly on their own, be their own pilot. So, I see a lot of value in smaller ships in the game.
Oh, definitely.
And you if you have a single-seater or a two-seater, you'll be able to fly it always. Anytime you like. And you don't have to worry about other people.
Strongly advise anybody to always have at least a single or double-seater ship in their fleet. Therefore, a role that you want to do on your own.
Up to a freelancer, Cutlass. Like, I feel those ships are the two biggest ships that you can fly solo without a problem.
Even a Constellation, like a Constellation Taurus, if you want to do some holding or something, would be capable. Like
the Constellation's turrets are such trash
right now
that it doesn't even matter if they're crude.
Yeah, but that's of course then you go into those kind of details. But anyhow, I think it's indeed like small ships. They do definitely have their place. We're not saying that big ships devaluate or make small ships useless. That's not this argument. The argument is just like, regardless of what you're gonna buy, you're gonna have an advantage over somebody that has bought less than you or has bought nothing. So that was always there, but we also have now a force multiplier in the form of the alpha UEC, which really means that, like, before it was like, up to a certain type of ship you would see a definite advantage, but after that the advantage would start to tail off the larger the ship's getting. So you'd start to lose that. But with the alpha UEC, we now see, like, any ship that you're going to buy, regardless of which ship it is, from an Aurora to a Javelin, in theory, you can fly on day one with the best possible loadout. And that's the point where things have gone wrong.
That's if you're able to buy the best loadout on day one. You might need reputation for it, and you might not be able to buy that loadout in the place that you are. You might have to fly to different places.
Okay, then you buy it in week one. Like The point is, they were.
It gives time
the
to
Javelin
people.
the Javelin was sold as something that would take a long time and a lot of effort for an organization to completely outfit.
You pay for Space Amazon or Spamazon to deliver it to you.
Yeah, probably. And also, of course, like with the Javelin, I will say that's coming back to also a bit of the theory crafting. Like a Javelin operating on its own is, of course, going to be a very, very juicy target because it cannot defend itself. So you need supporting ships around it, most likely. But then we're going into more of the theory crafting. So
Because the Javelin isn't in game.
Let's say some supportive things. Like, what's our?
That's what to say. Yeah, let's close it off with suggestions and possible ways on how we can mitigate the damage that's currently already been done, because reversing it is probably no longer going to be possible or clearly off the table.
Yeah.
So who wants to start on this one?
Not me.
No. First, you started. You got it.
I got one word for you. Tequila. No. So, all right. So here's my thing. Okay. So from our perspective right now, I feel like it looks absolutely like pay to win. There's too much evidence that says it is. It's just been a slippery slope, and it's just gotten worse. So much so that, like, it, to me, in my mind, threatens the longevity of the game, and it just seems irrationally. It just seems dangerous. It's a risk. So, what would help mitigate that, to me, at the very least, is for CIG to publish their economic plan. I understand that the game is being developed from an agile and a scrum perspective, and for those who don't know what those terms mean, it's a development standard that the principles is you're developing a lot of different aspects all simultaneously, and then you put them all together at the end, see how it works, kind of, as opposed to the waterfall method, which is more linear. Very base descriptions. I understand that for developing the technical side of things, but when you're speaking to the results of your destination, in order to unlock UEC for purchase now, you'd better have a plan. Otherwise, you're just burning the candle at both ends. Like you're just throwing that ball out into the dark and hoping somebody's there to catch it. Like, what are you doing? So either that's really poor planning or really greedy, or they have a plan. Now, if they have a plan, bravo, awesome. I've seen CIG pull some magic out of the hat, like technically, I mean, on all different fronts. So there have been a lot of cases where I do have seen evidence of amazingness come out of CIG. I would like that again. Please restore my faith. Publish your design plan for how you want the economics to work together. How are you going to balance the value budget when we don't even know the values of the ships until the game's features are complete? Because the players, if you go and fly that Super Hornet and it's underwhelming after launch, its value is not going to hold up to the other ship that maybe the Mustang dumped that sold for $50 just blows it away. Like, I mean, and I get it that you're going to try to balance the ships, but I'm just saying that, like, when it comes down to functional, like, if for instance scanning doesn't work out, where small ships can hide amongst asteroids or land on an asteroid, and maybe a big ship scanner won't have the resolution to tell it apart from a small, like, all these different things that we don't know how they're going to work will impact what ships become player favorites based on, like Asuna said, like maybe the gameplay focuses where really smaller ships are where the fun is at, because maybe the big ships have too many problems, or maybe the engine never is able to support big ships and they just become hangar queens. I face that reality. I mean, it could very well possible that every capital ship I own is just going to sit in a hangar unused because the game will never functionally be able to use it. And, that's okay. I wanted to support the game. That if that's how it rolls, that's how it rolls. But basically what I'm saying is the value of ships, the value of UC, the value of everything in the game is so up in the air. I want to see some evidence of a plan as to how they're going to rectify, selling UEC at this stage of the game. Sorry for the ramble.
So
That's my.
I feel it's not pay to win yet, but it's getting close to pay to win aspects. It's getting really close, and different from you, I feel if they post their like economy plan now, people are gonna find workarounds now because it's
Good.
written. And
Good.
if
But
they're telling
right?
CIG, of course. I'm sort of 50-50 on that. Like, they're going to give out plans now. People are going to complain now. On one hand, that's good. On the other hand, it's just more drama.
Yeah. But I mean,
And
that's the
like
thing,
it's
though,
a design document, and things in the game eventually always work differently than the design document. We want to see it in game, and that is giving us a good way to see how it actually works instead of just text and images. That's
Right.
never fully giving us the impression of how it's going to work, and it's just going to give stuff to complain about.
Okay.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like as I said, to say whether something pay to win, you need to, make your own definition of what you consider pay to win. For me, as it stands, with how things have been playing out, with let's be very honest about it, very limited knowledge that we have, my conclusion is that right now, Star Citizen is definitely pay to win, and it's pay to win for me also like in a negative sense. Like as we said before, it has it was always like you pay for, you get an advantage, with your ships. That was always the case.
Right.
The size of the advantage would differ on the ship situation and all of those things. But I never really felt like it was pay to win. And even in the early days when where people were like, when I'm starting out with war, I can't do anything. I just I proved that within a couple of hours you can earn enough to rent one of the top end ships, which would be easy to earn more, and you could rent all the other ships. So the advantage to me never was in a degree that was pay to win. With the changes to the alpha UC of the UC system, I'd say it very much has gone towards a pay to win system. As to how to solve this, putting an economic system, of course, it's paper, it's images and words on paper. But make no mistake, a lot of game design starts with words on paper and paper prototyping and, the steps like that. So like literally basic game mechanics and stuff like that, they figure it out by cutting up some pieces of carton and putting it on a table and start playing around with things. That's one of the fundamentals in this game design, actually. So I think if you're going to give us the plans and the design ideas that you have for your economic system right now, then there is going to be there's going to be an absolute guarantee that we are going to poke holes in it.
Right.
Which is absolutely freaking brilliant, because that's what we're here for. We are testing the game continuously. Like that's what they're telling us, that we are breaking it, we're testing it. So the earlier on that we can break things, the better it's going to be, because it's going to be easier to change. Because if we're going to break the economic system now, instead of when they have fully implemented it, like if we're going to break now what's on paper, then they can go back to the paper and write something new on the paper. If we're going to break it after it has been fully implemented, they need to start going in all of the code. And as soon as you go into the code and you're going to change stuff, you're going to break stuff, it's going to take a lot more time and hence a lot more money to change those things around. And they're also going to be less eager, I think, to change those things around because of those things. Sure. Time and money, it's going to be very much an involvement. So I think in my personal belief that releasing a economic plan to the community and, make it very clear, like this is a design document, these are our ideas. We ask us for feedback on it, like look at things that could be wrong with this, give us suggestions, but also understand that we have a full-on picture on this. You may not see everything, so we will try and take all your feedback into account, but there's no guarantee that we're going to take your personal feedback, because people tend to get like, but I have said this and they have not. No. Again, communicate and be clear in advance of certain things. I think that would be a very good step in the whole pay-to-win debate. Or
at the very least, reduce some of our fears.
Yeah, reduce some of our fears.
Break, play, test, and glitch the game. Right now.
And make no mistake, like even beyond outside of testing, gamers break any system they can find.
Sure.
We are always looking to break the system because we want to get an advantage out of it.
Yeah.
That's what we do. And that's also why pay to win is one of the most hotly debated topics in general in gaming. Because, we want an advantage. We are gamers. So if we're going to be able to get an advantage in a certain
status
way,
and pride of
we
having
want it.
Any game where you can spend more money than just buying the base game will get a topic pay to win.
Yeah. Well, of course, except if you go purely cosmetics, but even then some people say
people
that.
will call pay to win, because people like me, I would love cosmetics. If I go into a game, they're gonna make, there's online, they're gonna make the costumes ugly, and the pay costumes, they're gonna make them pretty. People will buy the costumes.
Bastards.
Yeah, but that's to me, that's fucking brilliant freaking marketing.
It is, but that feels pay to win.
I agree with Asuna. I think cosmetics are equally important to a game.
Yeah, I find it important how I look in the game.
That has spent an ungodly amount of money on cosmetics in games.
Yeah, me too.
I am absolutely addicted to it. Just like with character creators. So,
one of the parts in the game that I want to do in Star Citizen is buying stuff, cosmetics, in game.
I think I do wonder if they are. If that's some of their maybe for revenue stream for them in the future. But that's of course also another topic, what is going to be the revenue stream after launch, which could also be a very interesting topic for an episode, I guess. But I think it's about time that we start to round things off, because we have been running over an hour already on our main topic, and that's excluding our initial opening regarding the streams. So we don't want to take up all of your times for everybody. But, as I predicted, the pay-to-win topic is a very tricky one. And, the answers clearly differ in how you look at it. Okay, so with me and Traz here, we are more on the field, it's pay-to-win. Asuna is still 50-50 on it. It's still not fully there.
But it doesn't feel like pay-to-win yet.
I mean, I'd like to, and I know we got to close down, so I'll be quick. I mean, yes, I think it's pay to win, but I also think that Star Citizen is a difficult topic because there's a lot of ways to play the game to win, and they're not all around winning in combat or the biggest, baddest ship or any of that. So there's going to be a lot of ways to play the game. So that is a pretty solid defense.
I know.
Pay for fun.
It just, when it comes to the money, though, unless they absolutely betray the people who buy UEC by devaluing it at launch, if they don't do that, then at the end, currency is
we don't
key.
know.
Right, and there's so much we don't know. Please, CIG,
let us know.
Our lack of knowledge.
So what I want to end with is, we don't know if Star Citizen ends up, when it's released, we don't know if it's going to be pay to win, because we don't know the entire game.
Right.
Yeah, and that's...
But
and that's of course going to be a bit of a reoccurring topic regarding of whatever we are going to debate. It's going to be where we can only operate with the knowledge that we have right now, and add to that our own experiences and of the past and knowledge on certain systems and games and our experiences. So nothing that we are going to say is going to be fully truth-based, fully accurate or anything. But we're trying to work with what we have, and I think it does show each time that if you're going to debate topics and you just feel like I need more information, it just shows, going back to our first episode, it's we really are at a point that we need more information, and I think that's going to settle a lot of topics and debates, or at least make them a lot more constructive.
Right.
Now, as for constructive debates, we do very much invite you to give your own opinions down below in the comments.
Or
do
tips
of course
for us.
keep them very keep them polite, keep them constructive, but those kind of things, this is what we want to encourage. We want to see people debating and bringing their own arguments into these kind of situations and topics, because by having a proper debate means that the more people participate in it, the better of a picture we can get, but also a company like CIG can get on certain topics of and how their community feels. So please do partake in that, and if you be civil, if you're not going to be. If you're not going to be civil, then you will just be simply removed from there. I'm not going to waste any time on those kind of things. It's very simple. If you want to debate, you bring arguments, you bring your evidence and stuff like that. Debating is not personal attacks. It should not need to be said, but
if it's a different opinion from mine, I'll be fine. I'm not going to remove you.
Oh, yes.
But if you're going to attack people and insult people, then this is not the place for you.
You might absolutely say, I think your opinion is absolutely rubbish because of these and these and these and these points. Perfectly fine. If you're going to tell me, I fucking hate you because you're da-da-da-da-da, that's not fine. Anyhow, I do hope to see those constructive comments down below. I hope to see some debate down below. And with that, I will mark the official end for the podcast of this episode. I hope you all enjoyed it, and as I said, I hope it will start more critical but constructive thinking. As always, we hope that this episode will help Star Citizen to succeed. Tune in next time at your local stopover when you're taking the long rounds of some more thoughts and debates for the Star Citizen situation. We will see you then.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
We'll see you around. Have a good toast.
Toast up. Woo!